Archbishop-elect Henning will be installed as Archbishop of Boston on October 31st. Before the announcement, speculation over whom O'Malley's replacement would be had been a topic of discussion for years, and many church watchers expressed surprise at Pope Francis's pick.
One reason that it's a surprise is that Bishop Henning has only been a bishop for 6 years.
Many were caught off guard about a lesser-known prelate with such a short tenure as bishop being picked to lead the fourth largest archdiocese in the United States. EWTN senior Vatican analyst Francis Rocca explains the Pope's decision reflects his other appointments.
Pope Francis likes to be unpredictable. He likes to surprise. In some ways, this pick is characteristic of Francis's choices of many bishops. He hasn't spent a lot of time in Rome. He spent a lot of time in parishes as a pastor. He hasn't spent a lot of time in the chancery and didn't work in the Roman Curia. So in that way, he's characteristic of Francis bishop.
Daniel Salucci is CEO of the Catholic Leadership Institute, which provides leadership training to nearly 300 bishops and more than 120 dioceses. He believes Pope Francis had the needs of his flock in mind when making this choice.
He's bilingual and that he has deep roots in the Latino community and how important that is and has been in the church in Boston and only growing.
Some of the biggest challenges Henning will contend with at the helm of the Archdiocese, the continued effects of Boston's clerical sex abuse scandal, as well as a growing secularization in the culture.
I think Archbishop Henning is well suited to continue to embrace and lean into kind of the challenges of growing secularization. I think New England and Northeast in particular, the culture is not with us.
And while Henning is not a cardinal like his predecessor, O'Malley was not either when he first took on the job.
Jury might still be out relative to what the future might hold. I think it seems like the Holy Father is really looking at the needs of the Church Universal and trying to decide by way of, designating those cardinal sees differently. But I don't know that it rules out that the Archdiocese of Boston might still be one down the road.
To talk about his new role and the faith that Pope Francis has placed in his stewardship of the Archdiocese of Boston, we are joined now on the record by the incoming Archbishop himself, His Excellency Archbishop-elect Richard Henning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. Thank you for joining us this week, and please know of our prayers amid this announcement. How and when did you first learn of your new appointment? You said you were deeply shocked by the call.
Yes. So I was coming back from the office and preparing to go out to one of our parishes to receive a gentleman into the Catholic faith that I had gotten to know in my first year in Providence, a man of really great integrity and faith who felt drawn to the Catholic Church. So it was kind of an exciting afternoon. I was looking forward to that. And the nuncio called me just as I arrived back in my room. And they have that expression, in the movies, you better sit down for this. Well, that was the first time in my life I understood what they were talking about. I had to sit down for that one. I just was so surprised, with only a year in as the diocesan bishop, I never expected a call like that. And I've gotten them before, but I just presumed that he was calling about another matter. So it took me a few minutes to make sense of what he was asking me. But the honest truth is, it's just the way my parents raised me. It's how I understand, my call as a bishop. I don't say no, to the Holy Father, certainly. And so I felt that it was my duty to say yes. I struggled to understand this one because of the short period of time. But I trust in God, and I trust that the Holy Father and the nuncio have the larger picture, and that therefore it is my duty to kind of respond as fully and freely as I can to that call. So.
And I think a lot of people were surprised by that announcement as well. And people can be quick to want to define bishops with either a conservative or a liberal label. So for those who are learning about you for the first time, Your Excellency, how would you describe yourself? What do you want people to know?
Well, what I said at the press conference was, I'm a sinner in need of grace. So I have to admit that personally, I resist those kinds of categories because I think the honest truth is they don't really accord with the depth and the breadth of the church's own life and ministry engagement in the culture. Um, it tends to see only the surface, the social or political elements of a person's life or of society itself. And it strikes me that God asks more of us, and that the church's tradition is so much more than that. And it really doesn't matter which faction people claim to belong to. I'm to be pastor to all of them. So I feel it's important to be very clear that my first identity really is as a disciple of Jesus Christ. And obviously that has implications and, for how I engage or anyone else would engage in the world around us. So I'm not suggesting that we, live off in a land of our own. We have to engage in society, but I think we always have to come to that engagement as best we can from the point of view of the gospel, which is always, again, looking beyond the surface, looking for the depths. So I don't know that I would like to kind of claim a category, if that's all right with you. I'm not being evasive when I say that. It's more just my sense of duty as a priest of Jesus Christ and as a disciple who is striving to be faithful to his will.
Absolutely. And you are walking into one of the country's most prominent archdioceses and following the footsteps of Cardinal Sean O'Malley, who has served in Boston for more than 20 years. I'd like to give you a moment to comment on your predecessor's legacy in Boston and in the wider church.
All right. So I don't mean this in any way, blasphemously, but I have felt a few times in the last few weeks like this must be what Peter must have felt like after the Lord's ascension. I don't have any illusions that I am going to live up to the example that His Eminence has set. I've admired him for many years. He has done not only extraordinary work in ministry for the people of Boston and the Archdiocese, but really, truly, in this case, around the world, and certainly of service to the Universal Church and to the Holy Father. So I stand in awe of his own qualities of fidelity, his biblical preaching, his humility, his devotion to the Holy Father and to the Church. So I certainly will try to imitate his example, but I will come, I guess, with the desire now to surrender myself, to this new ministry. That's kind of the way I handle it. And I know that Boston is a large archdiocese, and therefore, as you said, it's considered prominent. But I think my mission is going to be the people in front of me, and that's where my focus is going to begin and hopefully remain. When I was at the Eucharistic Congress, which was a deeply moving experience, the Bishop of Brownsville, Bishop Daniel Flores, gave an address to the bishops and priests on the poverty of Christ and talking about that sense in which Christ gives himself completely in love and trust to our Heavenly Father for the sake of the world. And he was talking about, for us as ordained ministers of the gospel, that same call. So to me, this summons by the Holy Father and this now, kind of mission that I believe God has entrusted to me is a call to forget myself, to abandon myself, to pour myself out for the sake of this church. Now, I understand the world, in the real world, that also means administrative responsibilities and lots of bureaucracy and all of that. But I think I wouldn't serve anyone very well if that were really my beginning. I think the beginning has to be with the Lord, with the gift of the Eucharist, and with a love for his people, and to go there with an open heart and mind, to hear them, to learn about their own faithful witness and the many ways in which good people are living the faith on a daily basis and sort of join in that mission with them, I think.
Absolutely. And we'll be praying for you along the way. We're out of time, but I have one last question, and this is just a 1 or 2 word answer. You're a New York man moving to Boston. So, Your Excellency, Yankees or Red Sox?
Okay, so I'm going to slip out of that one. Well, I was never a Yankees fan, so that I'm a little bit safer. I grew up a Mets fan. My other family members are Yankees fans. So that's a very difficult one for me. So I think the stance I'm going to take going in is, let's let the Red Sox win a World Series, then maybe I'll convert. How's that?
Very diplomatic. Your Excellency, we're praying for you in this transition. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Catherine. God bless you.
God bless.